18th, 2024 at 7 o'clock. Start with flag salute.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, this is a regularly scheduled meeting pursuant to the resolution adopted on January 16, 2024, with a meeting notice sent to the Hunterdon County Democrat on January 18, 2024. A copy of the agenda for this meeting was posted to the Township website on March 15, 2024, posted on the bulletin board, and filed with the clerk's office on March 15, 2024. Miss Emily Deadweiler.
Here.
Mr. Matthew Cohat.
Here.
Mr. Dante DePiero.
Here.
Mr. Jamal Qadri.
Here.
Mr. Al Nardi. Mr. Richard Catenacci. Miss Mary Van Horn. Miss Candace Wiggum.
Here.
Mr. Michael McGovern.
Here.
Miss Alexis Smith.
Here.
Miss Megan Stanley.
Here.
And I am here serving as Planning Board Secretary, Kristen Athanasia.
Thank you. And just for the record, those are all excused absences. We knew in advance they're on vacation or something of that nature. So, just for the record, agenda review. Just one minor change to the agenda. Under new business, I'm going to move up UAW Region 9 housing to first thing on the agenda. And I don't expect that it will take too long. So just letting everyone know that one. First up, citizens privilege to speak on items not on the agenda. May I have a motion to open to the public?
So moved.
Second.
So moved.
Go. Open to the public for items not on the agenda. Going once, going twice. Okay, seeing no one, closing to the public. Presentation of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review them? Any questions, any changes? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Anybody want to second that one?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good. Resolutions for approval, we do not have any. And unfinished business, shockingly, we don't have any. Okay, so we'll get started. First one up is UAW Region 9 Region 9 AKA, where did that go? UAW AKA Region 9 Housing. 20 John Ringo's Road, Block 2701, Lot 1801, Village of Ringo's, amended site plan approval. As you may know, we meet as both a planning board and a zoning board. And as a zoning board, when we meet as a zoning board, requires 4 for a quorum. We have a few absences that we knew of. We have 2 members recusing themselves, and our class 1 and 3 members do not participate. So we do not have a quorum. So for that reason, we're going to be continuing this until April 15th.
Correct. Correct.
Yep, with no notice required. Is that correct?
No further notice will be required, so the application is continued till the next planning board meeting, regularly scheduled April 15th, same place, same time.
Yep.
So this will serve as your notice for the public hearing and application in April.
There's a small possibility that we will have a special meeting, in which case we will notice that, and it will be on the bulletin board as well. So we'll try to make sure we get that out, but more than likely it will just be held at the next meeting.
And if it is by special meeting, there would be notice by both MLUL, so personal notice for the 200-foot list, and newspaper notice, as well as the 48-hour notice minimum pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. So you would get additional notice for both the meeting and also for the application itself, if it were to be heard at a special meeting before the April regularly scheduled
Which is
meeting.
why we probably won't have a special meeting.
A lot to do.
It's a lot to do. Okay, new business. What's up first is the consistency review of ordinance 24.04, an ordinance to revise the standards governing the lighting by amending Article 11, design and performance standards and corresponding references, in Article 3, definitions within Chapter 92, land management of the Code of East Amwell Township. So our responsibility is to review this, to make sure it's consistent with the master plan. We don't get to comment more than that. Well, we can, but that, our primary goal is review it to make sure it's consistent with the master plan. There's a public hearing at the township level scheduled for April 11th, 2024, and I believe it's been introduced already.
Yes.
Yep.
Can I just clarify that that's Article 6, not Article 11?
Oh, yes, you're right.
Okay, just-
Thank you. Yes,
just-
that's a V, not an X. Good thing. I know I stumbled over that one. My Roman numerals, I should know that. Any questions on that one?
I have a question, Emma.
Certainly.
I know this was talked about last year before we were appointed. Those of us who are new appointees, we still vote on the consistency of it?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Okay.
tonight, we're just gonna discuss why we believe it's consistent with the master plan and the re-examination that was completed last year. So it might seem funny because there was so much discussion at the planning board last year about this ordinance,
Yeah.
but it's statutorily required that the governing body introduces it, then it comes to the planning board for the board to discuss whether you believe it's consistent with the master plan, and then it goes back over to the governing body, and they will, if there's no revisions recommended by the planning board, they're able to adopt it on second reading after a hearing.
Yeah, and if you, as you mentioned, as Alexis mentioned, we spoke of this a lot. Last year, there were multiple rounds of the ordinance. There was a lot of work put into it, I think, by Marnie Stetson and maybe Tamlee, but I'm not sure if she worked on that particular one. But there was a lot of work on it, went into that. We actually heard from the public, and really the goal of this is to, have standards in place. There was a lot of talk of dark skies, if you recall, which does not mean no lights. It means minimal lighting, and I'll leave it at that. Has everyone had a chance to read it? Any questions? Questions? Megan, have you had it? Yes, I was gonna ask you, do you have anything you wanna add to that one?
No, I mean, pretty much came out of the master plan re-examination, so it is absolutely consistent, and I had reviewed it, I had provided input too, so I
Yeah.
see no inconsistencies.
Well, thank you for your professional opinion. Very quickly, I'd like to open to the public to see if there's any comment there. Motion? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Open to the public for lighting ordinance comments, and specifically as it's related to its consistency with the master plan. Going once, going twice, closed to the public. Okay. Do I need to have a motion to adopt this? We just vote on it?
It can just be a motion to determine it as consistent with the
Okay.
master plan and all in favor.
Okay. May I have a motion to determine that this is consistent with the master plan?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Check. Moving right along. New business. Craig and Janine Mattis, 1217 Old York Road, Block 8.02, Lot 26, in the Amwell Valley Agricultural District, minor subdivision, and I believe this contains also some bulk variances. Okay. Hello.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Kara Kaczynski. I'm with the law firm of McNally, Yaros, Kaczynski, and Lime, and I'm here this evening representing the applicants, Craig and Janine Mattis. The property we're dealing with tonight is 1217 Old York Road, also known as New Jersey Route 179, and as the chairwoman indicated, it's block 8.02, lot 26, and that's in your Amwell Valley Agricultural District. The property itself is approximately 12.56 acres. It contains a two-story residential dwelling, a few barns, a silo, and some driveway improvements. I just want to point out at the get-go, there is a typographical error on your plans. The plans indicated that the property was 25.06 acres. We apologize for that. That was corrected by way of letter to indicate it is approximately 12.56 acres. And certainly if the board votes favorably on the application, we would agree to amend as a condition of any approval that information on the plan, so there's absolutely no error, or no confusion, I should say. The property, as you may know, has been the subject of various subdivisions. This was a very large parcel, and one of the subdivisions included piecing off approximately 50 acres that was ultimately sold to the county of Hunterdon for use as a park. And in connection with all of these subdivisions, there was some discussions, some understandings, some approvals, some maybe inartful language in some of the approvals. And when my client, you'll hear some testimony, was undertaking to purchase this property, he was of the understanding that this 12.56 acre parcel already existed. Unfortunately, it did not. So what we're here to do tonight is to take that approximately 12.56 acres, subdivide it into two, and the properties would be Lot A, approximately 2.07 acres, which would remain with the current owners of the property, Eric and Norma Zimmerman, all the way over here to my right, and Lot B, which would be approximately 10.56 acres, would remain with the applicants, and Mr. Mattis is here right now.
So we would end up with 2 lots?
Correct, correct. So out of that 12.56 acres, you have approximately two acres and change, and a little under 11 acres. The property that would be 2 acres that would remain with the owner would contain the existing 2-story dwelling, the garages, a barn, and a shed. And all of this you'll see on the subdivision plan that was presented to you. The new lot, or the secondary lot, which we're gonna call Lot B, that would be sold to the applicants, would have the remaining existing improvements. That is that 7,000 square foot barn that we're gonna talk about. You're gonna hear a little testimony about that tonight, along with a new 1-story residential dwelling and a 3-car attached garage. That shared driveway would also be on Lot B. So again, all of this is shown on your subdivision plans. I'm gonna say that Resolution 2006-20, which was provided to the board, in connection with the application, actually gives you some guidelines and specifically contemplated this subdivision that we're talking about tonight. And if you take a look on page 2, and I'm just gonna say it for the record, there were findings that were made of the board at that time. And this particular resolution took the existing lot 26 and carved out another 2.5 acres. So that was Resolution 2006-20. And in findings 5 and 6 of that resolution, it indicates that the applicant explained the proposed building lot of 2.5 acres and another building lot of less than 3 to be subdivided from lot 2.06 were proposed at some informal meetings. The purpose was to facilitate this sale of a 50-acre parcel to Hunterdon County, and the applicant then proceeded to complete that sale to Hunterdon. Now, at this time, meaning in connection with Resolution 2006-20, the applicant was seeking to subdivide this lot for construction as a single-family residence. Now, it also says, next year, soil tests will be performed on the remaining acreage near Route 179, and assuming those results are favorable, then the applicant expects to return to apply for an additional building lot, as informally agreed to. All remaining acreage will continue to be merged with Lot 26. So, by virtue of that language, was there a subdivision that we're asking for tonight approved at that time? No, but it was always contemplated that that remaining acreage, once the perk testing was done and once it was really ripe for a new subdivision, would be back before this board, and that's what we're here for tonight. The proposed subdivision requires a few variances, and all of these are properly outlined in Ms. Stanley's report. Specifically, we're looking for a minimum front yard setback variance. 75 feet is required for grandfathered undersized lots between 1.5 and 3 acres, and we're proposing slightly less than that, about 73.5 feet for Lot A. We also need a maximum impervious coverage variance. A maximum of 10,000 square feet is permitted, and for Lot A, we're proposing 11,346 square feet. A lot of which is taken up by that 7,000 square foot barn, and you're going to hear some testimony tonight as to exactly how that's going to be utilized going forward, which is one of the questions Ms. Stanley had. In addition, we need a variance from the accessory structure side yard setback requirements. A minimum side yard of 32 feet is required for proposed Lot A, and we're proposing 20.4. And finally, a accessory structure rear yard setback, minimum of 40 feet is required, and for both proposed Lot B and A are deficient. Lot B is 31.1 feet existing nonconformity, and Lot A would be a proposed 30 feet, which also would require a variance. So we plan on having two witnesses testify for you in connection with this matter. One is Mr. Mattis, and he's going to testify, like I said, and answer some questions that the board professionals had with regard to the uses of the structures in the property. I also have Mr. Zimmerman here in case you have any questions for him. But my other witness is our engineer, surveyor, and planner. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here tonight. I would have loved to present the entire thing to you. But we're happy and thank you for letting us at least get part of this before you so we can keep things going, hopefully, at your next meeting. So unless you have any questions, I'd just like to present Mr. Mattis.
Can I just swear them in, Ms. Kaczynski?
Yeah, absolutely, please.
Can you please both raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, thank you, good.
Thank you very much. Okay, so, Mr. Mattis, you've been sworn, so you understand you're under oath. Are you the applicant in this matter?
I am.
And you are currently under contract for the sale of what will be approximately an 11-acre portion of Lot 26.
That is correct.
Okay. And this would only occur if this subdivision was approved this evening, or by this board at some point in time.
Correct.
Were you of the understanding when you started looking at this property that it was its own separate lot?
The way that the resolutions were presented to me and that we had discussed, it was assumed that they were already two pending lots, or for the deal that was done, that he was entitled to two buildable lots.
Okay, but you since found that we had to complete this process in order for you to be able to purchase that property?
We've now found that this lot needed to be perfected.
Okay. So you are seeking to subdivide this property into two separate lots. Your lot will be approximately 11 acres,
Yes,
and the remaining lot will be a little bit over 2 acres. Is that correct?
that is correct.
Is there anything else with regard to the history of this that you'd like to advise the board of?
Just pretty much that, from, our understanding that there was a lot of history with the property, and for, bettering the community with the sale of the 50 acres and the exchange, there was supposed to be a couple, with the lots that he was entitled to, and, moving forward, just for us to build, one home, and I have 3 small children that we'd like to, have a small farm and, plant and have a couple animals and things like that, just to kind of see the farm back in action kind of at this point, because it's kind of, it's done its time, and, I'd like to give it, new life again.
So that was one of the questions in the planner's report, how you're seeking to use the property. And any other way you're seeking to use it other than for residential and farming purposes?
The way I want to use the property is I'd like to build our forever home, and, I have 3 small kids right now that I'd like to, especially with Eric, he does a lot of farming on the one
Yeah,
side,
we do the farming now on the
And then-
property,
Let me let him finish only because
sorry.
he's got, no, it's okay.
I'm
Listen,
butting up.
I tend to do exactly the same
I know.
thing, but just to keep the record
I got
straight.
kids.
But, just, so, maybe he could pass down some things to, like, the farming end to my kids, and then, I really wanna, give the farm life again, pretty much.
Okay, so speaking of life, there's a 7,000 square foot barn on that property, correct?
Correct.
What are you looking to do with that?
I really wanna renovate it. I really wanna bring that 18th century barn back. Every day I see it and it's falling apart more, it irks me. That, like, it's taken this long to get to this point that, I looked at it 2.5, 3 years ago, and it was kind of like, I could see potential with the building. The construction's phenomenal in that building. I don't want, I want to save it.
It's taken you a lot to get to this point.
Yeah.
We've been working on this for almost a year now, I think, right?
With
Close.
you, and then with John, it's been almost 2.5.
Okay, all right, well,
Yeah.
I stand corrected, much longer than that. So a couple other things that I just want to hit since they did come up in the comment letters. One of the comments in the board engineer's letter of March 11th was a question about the irregular shape of the lots. Your engineer is going to testify as to exactly how he came up with that, but is there anything that you want to provide with the board? Because they're not specifically very regular shaped, they're irregular in shape. Any comments about that?
There's a lot of lot line adjustments and changes and subdivisions that happened to this property in the last, I guess, about 30 years. And it's pretty much come down to the last, I guess, subdivision, and that's kind of the shape that it's left with. After it's kind of been, everybody took their little piece from it. It's kind of a unique property at this point.
Definitely, and it also enabled you to retain the structures that you wanted and Mr. Zimmerman to retain those structures that he wanted on his lot.
Where the line that we want to draw, yes, because then that would give me the ability to save the larger barn.
One of the questions in the board planner's letter, and that letter was dated February 1st, 2024, was whether you have any non-residential use proposed for that property, other than the farming that you talked about.
We plan on hopefully just farming the property, growing, I'd like to do a portion of Christmas trees, and then also, Eric does flowers and vegetables and things like that, which I'd like my kids to learn how to grow. And then possibly, when I grew up, I had chickens and things like that, small, animals that I'd like to, get back into.
And obviously, all of that would be in compliance with whatever zoning ordinances the town has. Okay, and one of the other questions, we kind of touched on this a little bit, the planner wanted to know the existing use of that barn and how you propose to use it. I know you said you wanted to renovate it. Once it's renovated, how do you intend to use it?
Well, it would be pretty much used for storage of tractors, agricultural implements, possibly doing a portion for animals and things like that. Pretty much, I guess, how it all kind of fits into the current property and whatever I could, shape with what's existing, with the actual square, the footprint of the building.
And that would all be for personal use, correct?
For the farm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, no storage of any outside vehicles from anyone else?
No.
No retail operations, no
No.
industrial operations,
No.
manufacturing, nothing like that? Okay. And then I guess the last question I had was, you heard the information in the resolution with regard to the perk testing. Have you done perk testing on the property?
The perfect thing is done.
Okay.
The engineer has all the septic designs. I believe they've been submitted to Hunterdon County.
Okay.
We have pretty much everything drawn and designed and ready to go.
So you're ready to rock and roll once the board hopefully approves the subdivision?
Correct.
Madam Chair, I don't have any more questions.
Thank you. Ms. Stanley, is there anything you want to add to this? You want to weigh in?
So just to clarify with the barn too, no expectations to do events or anything, like special events, like weddings, that kind of thing, like, no, okay.
No.
Just making sure.
No, I have no intentions to do that.
Well, other than that, the applicant has addressed all of the questions brought forward in our letter.
Any questions from the board members? To my right first.
Well, I take it we need to wait for the engineer to ask some more particulars, right, about
Okay.
the site plan?
Yep.
So I guess I'll just defer till then.
Okay. Any questions for you for the witness?
I have a question about the barn. It looked like on the drawings, the proposal is to move the barn. Is that correct? No, you're just gonna renovate it where it is right here.
I don't think it's possible to move that barn.
You could, Adam Wingren moves them.
What's that?
There are people locally who take them down and move them, but you shouldn't move it.
No.
Yeah.
And
He got a piece of one of our barns years ago.
Did he?
Fell down, he came in and took it
And
apart.
salvaged it.
And he
Yeah.
salvaged it, yeah, but he was looking at the big barn and he's like.
Yeah, it's got a lot of
Beautiful,
potential, but that's a
man.
lot of work.
Yeah.
I could take a look at the plan. If there's something there that makes that confusing, we could certainly address that as well.
As a layperson, when I was reading the plan, I struggled to see where the lot lines were.
Yeah.
I really,
It's
really
not
struggle
good.
with that. I kept thinking, can I just have an aerial with two colors? This is
Right,
this
right,
is
you
lot
gotta
A and this is
highlight
lot B. It would, or a highlighter. I would have.
Yeah.
I struggled.
We could bring that to the next meeting.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I can have the engineer do
Keep
that.
it simple.
We could bring it, exactly, bring it as an exhibit, and certainly email a copy as well ahead of time.
That would be really helpful. Yeah.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, yeah, I think the confusion on this site plan, there's, it says concrete pad and foundation remains, and it says barn to be reconstructed with the building permit. It looks like that's separate from actually what's there. Is
Yep.
that, yeah.
Yep, okay. Well, and that's not the intention at all.
So that portion, that concrete there,
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to put up a greenhouse on that concrete pad,
Okay.
if possible.
Okay. So there'll be a barn and a greenhouse there.
Yeah, where there's an existing foundation that, like I
Yes.
said, if we could put up a greenhouse, that would be great. If I have to remove it, I have to remove it.
Okay. And where do the silos go?
There's the one silos in the front of the barn.
Yeah. So that's going. Where's the lot line on that one? Or
The
maybe
silo
I'll
would
wait
be-
till we see the picture.
Yeah, that'll definitely be easier.
Yeah, this is why, I was literally looking at that, trying to figure that out.
The silos in front of.
Oh, that's, okay, now you've got the line there, okay.
Yeah, so the
Yeah,
Without
silos.
the,
They're on different plans. The ones that actually have the lot name don't have the boundary easily.
and, okay, that's why I was, yeah,
Yeah, I can.
thank you.
I know what I was looking at, and it takes me every time I look at it, there's one of those pictures where you gotta wait for the lines to all adjust, so I agree.
Yeah.
We will definitely bring
Yeah.
that for you.
Go ahead.
I looked at the 1999 thing. We started off with 62 acres and now we're down to under 11 and 2.05. And it said at the first time in the 1999, it said they were concerned about the irregular lot size. And again, this is a very oddly shaped piece of property. And I know the engineer, I think, is gonna say something about why that is, so we need to wait for the engineer for that. But it is it's got that one long arm that sticks out up above, and I was wondering about that.
Yeah, I think the testimony from the applicant was that a lot of it had to do with the prior subdivisions and how these two property owners have decided they wanted to maintain the structures, maintain ownership of the structures. I think that's at least part of what's driving it, but.
Drives that line.
Basically
Yeah.
why the line, because I'm like, the barn can fall down, he's, understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's like,
And
They'll
you'll
take
hear
it.
from the engineer as well that one of the things we tried to do, anytime you do a subdivision, you wanna try to minimize the relief. So if you have a structure and your setback is X, you wanna try to make it work as much as possible. But you'll hear that expert testimony from it.
And I was also wondering about the variance for the impermeable surface on the remaining small property. Is that back area in back of your house all gravel? I know there was a tree cutting operation back there
Right.
at one time. Is that still going on back there? Is that gravel back there where that happened? Is that why we need more impermeable surface?
Well, you have the driveway that goes up in the.
Yeah, I
there's-
got the
there's
driveway,
a driveway
yeah.
that goes up in the back.
Yeah.
correct.
So that's what, I guess, gives it the whole impervious coverage there. It's a large driveway, because that's what accesses the back of the property. So the new driveway access would be off of his daughter's
Yeah.
property.
Yeah, it would be
Off the
on,
other
yeah,
side.
on the other side of the, yeah.
Yeah, and it'd be a shared driveway, it looks like?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
way it was.
Which is on the
That's
current
how it was
map,
that-
approved.
that- Yeah, that's the way when we subdivided, well, when the county bought the property back, I guess in '08, that's what it was. We thought we were having two building lots, cause we could've actually, when the county came along to ask for our property, we were like, well, we can get 5 building lots back there. That's 50 acres plus whatever we had. We could've actually got 5 building lots out of the deal. But then they came along and said, no, they needed 23 acres to put a septic field in the back for the fairgrounds, which they never did yet. You know what I mean? It's still not done. But I mean, and then it came to the point that like, they were talking about condemning the land and taking it. So then we kinda came up with some numbers that were like, okay for my father-in-law. And the deal was that we were gonna get 2 building lots out of our existing land. So they took 50, and that kept us with, 13 acres or whatever, just a little under 13 acres. My daughter took 2.5 acres to put a house up, and then we had another building lot. We thought that was fine until we wanted to sell it. Then, everything should have went through, we thought it was gonna be easier than what it is. That it was already there saying that we have a building lot, and we didn't know we had to subdivide it then. It was just, we thought that when we were ready to sell it, you subdivide it and sell it. And that's why we're here now for the 10 acres or whatever, So we actually thought it was a done deal, Ed. We should have, the minimum they said, I thought the minimum they said was 1.5 acres we could have sold back in '02, up to 3 acres. Well, now, we're looking at, he wants to start farming, so now we're looking at 10 acres,
You said your daughter, is it the house that's there now, is that your daughter's house?
The
That
house
was
on
the-
the farm itself, no, that's my house.
Okay,
Her house
The
is-
subdivision that took
the
place in
subdivision is-
2006.
other one.
Created
Okay,
his
thank
daughter's
you.
lot. Yep.
Yeah, because at
Yes.
one point I was like, are there 3 lots here?
No, well,
There's
Yeah, okay.
26.02 and there's 26.01 on the other side, those
Right.
2
Square.
carve-outs. Was
Yeah.
2601 a carve-out as well
That was
from the original acreage?
that's Rex's house,
That was
right?
Yeah.
That was the original
Subdivision.
Okay,
And then
2602,
So 2602 and 26 merged in 2006.
Yeah.
When 26, I think 03, his daughter's lot was created.
well, his daughter's lot, it changed, they switched back. It was like 26 and then it switched back to 2602 and Eric's
Okay.
property switched
Okay.
back to
is the number 6.
26.
When I tell you, the first
I
time
mean,
you
I went
brought
through
the
it
file
all
to my
today.
office, I was like, what? My head was spinning.
Yeah, so I guess there was a discrepancy. There's technically 2 2602s.
that's why I was confused.
That's what it is.
I was like,
Yes.
wait a
Yes.
second.
So we went round and round to find out if it was a title agency issue, but supposedly they just altered a lot line, and that's how he got 2602. But then 2602 supposedly merged back into his property.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's part of
I
it.
was trying to
Came
follow
back.
that. I was
Yeah,
just-
it got very, very confusing.
Yep.
And there was a lot of adjustments, and that's kind of why the lines look the way they do.
Okay,
And then when the county took the back, that's how you get the one that's just cut straight across the back.
yep,
Mm-hmm.
And that's, why those barns are too close to the property, because they just took a straight line across the back from whatever points they had.
And that's the back lot line
That's the
adjustment.
back, yeah.
yep.
Emily, can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I mean, oftentimes, if different folks buy properties in the future, a lot of times there can be disputes on where property boundaries are, and so it seems that one concern would be if you have really kind of gerrymandered lines, it may exacerbate the issue in the future, at least, when third parties own the property about who has what, who can put a fence where, who can park equipment wherever. Is there any way to, and I couldn't tell from looking at the maps, and we don't have the engineer. Is there any way to make any cleaner lines as part of this application?
I mean, we can certainly, in connection with the colorized, more easily visible exhibit, we can look at that. Again, since one of the main things is to make sure that the structures that each one of them want is located on their property, I think that creates part of an issue. However, and I'm just saying this in response to what you're saying, one of the other reasons was to minimize the relief. If this board thinks that it's more logical to make the line straighter and grant setback relief that we're not asking for, I mean, that is another option. I mean,
Well,
I think
I
the
mean-
more important thing is that each structure that each one of them wants stays on their property.
I get it that that's their overriding concern, and I guess if it can be accommodated, that could be a consideration. But you're already seeking various variances for a number of different setbacks, so I would hate to have an application that creates even more uncertainty and more difficulty in neighbors understanding where the property boundaries are in the futures. I mean, I've seen loads of cases where this happens, just where there are two, one straight line that two parties have, and even so, there could be disputes, and if you have, jigsaw shaped.
That's why title companies and surveyors make all the money.
Yeah, right, but you see them go to court as well, and
You're
nobody
absolutely
wants
right.
that, and
No.
so, I just figured since your engineer's coming back, I would think one consideration would be trying to make it as simple as possible, where, still where the applicants are trying to get the structures that they want, might be helpful.
But if you put an iron pin in each of these corners,
You're in a preview.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even the future, I don't know.
I'm just telling you, I've seen many cases where there are iron pins out there and there are people disagreeing and surveyors get called and expert witnesses. I'm saying, and the stranger it is, and there have been multiple subdivisions already. I couldn't tell where these are, but it's just a consideration, I think.
Jamal, you're used to reading plans, they're easy for you.
We just have good neighbors. It's like, I'll take care of your side of the fence. That's the key, just have good neighbors.
Mr.
Well,
McGovern?
and I wondered whether, because it is a 10-acre minimum, it's in the agricultural district, so the lots are supposed to be 10 acres, isn't that correct?
Yes, but I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, there was something in planner's letter about one of them being pre-existing grandfather, correct? So,
Well, but how does that work? So if there's something that's pre-existing, if you change it, it's no longer pre-existing, right? So
Yeah.
let me understand, who wants which lot would be farmed?
The big
The
one.
The
the
larger
11
He wants
acre
the
one?
11 acres.
Right? And that's
Yeah.
one you want to keep, right? Or that's one getting sold?
That's the one he wants.
He-
to
But
do.
he's
I'm
purchased.
the owner now.
I see,
That's
so you
the
would
one he's
sell
getting-
into him.
Right, correct.
I see.
It's
well-
almost like a preservation, and he's in the exception area, and the new 11 acres is gonna get restored and farmed. I mean, the way I look at it, you know what I mean?
What I want, yes, what I want to do.
Well, and I kind
I
of
wanna-
wondered about the grandfathered
I want to
part.
recognize Mr. McGovern, he's been waiting very
No,
patiently.
no, a lot of questions Mr. Zimmerman, when he talked, answered. I
Sorry.
do have another one about the farming. How much acres do you have that are farming right now?
I would say probably, because I do it myself now, probably about 8.5, 9 acres I do myself.
So how many acres are gonna be taken up? You have your other house, so that's 2.5 acres, it's gonna be taken up as part of the property itself. How much are you gonna lose by building on your acres that you wanna farm altogether? Do you have any idea?
For me,
Yeah,
it's, on the thing, it's, I think it's like a 2,800 square foot house. And that's, I think.
Tiny
one
by
of the
today's
reasons-
standards.
It's less than an acre with
Tiny
the
by
driveway.
today's
Yeah,
standards.
my house.
But it's,
Yeah.
you gotta hope it's less than an acre with the driveway, because
Yeah.
otherwise it'll make you do a stormwater.
Well, that's what we were asking not to do, because I don't wanna put retention basins
Believe me,
in
you
or
don't wanna
anything,
have
because
to do
I wanna,
that.
I wanna be able to farm as much as possible
Yeah.
of the property. And that's another reason why we worked the lines where we did. So I took as much that's together to keep, being able to do fields.
You had more, Ms. Wiggum, I'm sorry.
Well, and my question about grandfathering is, the county took this certain amount. There was 5 acres, I think, left for your daughter and another.
2.5 for
They took 2.5.
But then in 2006, some of that was given back to you and remerged with you.
That was the discrepancy.
Yeah.
When supposedly, that's when they thought it was perfected, but it went back into his deed.
Yeah.
And that's where those 226.02s came from. Nobody realized that it was the same lot number for the two properties.
But when it changed from 26 to 27, 2602 and back, there was some land coming back to
Honestly-
combine with yours?
Honestly, what I thought was, so the county took their 50 acres, that left us with 14 acres. Out of that 14 acres, we were gonna get 2 building lots. Jennifer took one and Brian built the house. Now, as far as what lots and what lot numbers and whatever, that wasn't me, that was my father-in-law Rex, and I honestly don't know. I just know that we had, some papers from the township and the county.
Yeah.
Just thinking that's what we had, you know what I mean? I didn't even think of what went where, I just thought we had 2 building lots. Cause we were gonna perk the other lot, but then they said the perks are only good for 3 years. So why would you perk it? Cause we weren't ready to sell it. You understand what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like, well, when we were ready to sell it, then we would
Perk it and do it.
perk it then and do it then. Well, I guess now we're ready to sell it and
Yeah.
here we
It's
are.
a pretty confusing trail of paperwork.
Oh,
It is, and that's why I thought that 2006 resolution was the most helpful, because it didn't start from the very beginning, which would have been nice, but it got to, the most recent prior subdivision for the county, and then went through the 2.5, and then indicated that the 2602 and 26 ended up being merged, but the intention or the understanding was that then there would be a further subdivision of that lot. And then, time passed.
Is it safe to say this is, your request is, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but this is sort of consistent with what your plan has been, sort of all along? Is that safe to say? It's just been moving around a little? Is that a fair
Correct.
statement, just to kind of get it? Okay.
Yep, and I think that's what is evidenced by that resolution from
Yep.
2006.
Any more questions from board members? Anything more from the witnesses for tonight?
No, not at this time.
Okay. I'm open to the public. What's that? They were both here.
Just checking.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney.
Just making sure.
No, it's actually good. Can I have a motion to open to the public?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Open to the public for questions? Comments? Questions of the
Francis.
witnesses? Hi, Francis.
Hello.
Come on up and state your name for the record.
Okay, there's the challenge.
And speak loudly so the people at home can hear.
Oh, I have no problem project. Francis Gavigan, Ringo's, Richville. Anyway, I'm Mr. Zimmerman. I'm familiar with your property. The one thing I noticed in looking at it, you're actually on Frontage Road. You're next to it's Queen of the Valley, is that not?
No,
Okay, well then that doesn't match. Google Maps doesn't match 2017. Is there a stream or anything running
No.
through your house?
no,
Is it an historic house?
no.
Sounds
How
like the
old
barn
is it?
So,
18 something. Our current ordinance regarding Historic Preservation Committee requires that plans in the historic districts or that might go to the Historic Preservation Committee for a review to say, is it historic, is it not? And this, unfortunately, so far, hasn't gotten to that committee.
But he's not
Nice.
changing his house.
I'm not changing.
Yeah.
No, but the barn that you're going to be doing in the subdivision, I'm sorry, it doesn't matter, I may put off my comments until next month when I can, the internet, it screws up. I thought yours was the place with the 2 silos,
No, I only have one
It's
silo.
visible.
No, no,
Okay.
no.
old photograph. I'll ask my questions next month.
Okay.
A general concern though, other than if there's historic interest or properties, to get it checked out in that regard. And the concern as a general citizen, I have sympathy for you wanting to finish your subdivisions, even though it's 18 years later. But we spent a lot of money for the 10-acre zoning and lawsuits. The little meeting room has got plaques all over the wall awarding us for planning. And when you take an area that's supposed to be agricultural, 10-acre zoning, and you create little 2-acre lots, I have no idea where a septic would go, should you need one, that I would think a consideration would be, are you weakening your zoning ordinances and the durability of it? I haven't seen this 2006 resolution or anything like that, but I think a point to be careful about is, are you creating spot zoning or a slippery slope because you wanna help a long-term resident to finish off the subdivision, from the late 90s, early aughts?
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, I'll ask questions next month when the engineer's here, but I would ask that you would send it to Will Harrison and the Historic Preservation Committee to at least, because the barn that you're talking about restoring, which is great, that would probably be on the county inventory as an historic structure if it's probably one of those post beams like I have on mine. So it might be in the inventory.
We'll certainly do our due diligence and check to
Do you
see
need a permit to restore a barn?
what.
I
I don't know
So
the
you need to
answer to
come
that
in-
either, I have a couple
Yeah,
questions.
I
I
mean, the
wanted,
thing is
I think we need to get the facts on this
Yeah,
one.
I think you only go to historic if you need a permit, and you shouldn't need a permit to restore an existing building.
I think Francis raises an interesting point, and I think we all have time to get the facts on this before we, yeah. I appreciate it, Francis. Anyone else from the public? Going once? Going twice? Okay. Close to the public? So we need to continue this? Okay, so my understanding is you have another witness
Yes,
and,
a little bit of work to do.
yeah, and a little bit of work to do. Not to put you on the spot, but do you think you need part of a meeting? Trying to think about how to schedule this.
I wouldn't think that our engineer is gonna be much longer than what just happened
Okay.
tonight. We'll make sure that everything is streamlined and that everything is submitted to the board, so I wouldn't think so. Obviously, I can't, predict what the board's gonna ask, and we'll certainly look into the historic issue as well.
Do we want to continue this? Do I need a motion? to continue? Okay. Okay, and we'll do April 15th. So we'll continue this till April 15th with no additional notice. Hopefully, we can get you on the agenda before the longer application. Thank you.
Wonderful, we appreciate that, thank you, everyone,
Thank you for coming.
thank you.
Let's see what's next on this agenda. I don't even remember. Next up, invoices for approval. Everyone have a chance to take a look? Yep. All good? I guess I have to get a motion. Motion to approve?
So
Yeah,
moved.
I have a motion? Second? All in favor? Good? Okay. Items for discussion, liaisons for oral reports. So we have a list of quite a few places where we typically get oral reports. And I guess I'd like to discuss who these should be. How I believe you're on the Environmental Commission, are you?
Yes.
So may I ask that you be that liaison?
Sure.
That takes that one. About, how do you say this? FOS, how do you say this?
Fosbeck.
Fosbeck? Oh,
Yeah.
Fosbeck.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I can do that.
Do you have any ideas how we take care of this?
I can do that.
You
You can do that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's actually news. There's
Oh,
news
excellent.
from it. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Because then you'll get to
we
give the
have
next oral
farmland
report.
preservation plan. All right.
Okay, now
Oh,
we got that.
right, that's,
Okay, thank you, Jamal.
Yeah.
So I got you on 2 here. And then we also have agriculture advisory and historic preservation. I think what I may do is Actually, do you have any ideas? You want to talk about that later? Okay.
Offhand, yeah, we can talk later.
Let's talk about that later. Okay. So oral reports. Who wants to take this one? Ms. Wiggum, Mayor DePiero?
I'll take it.
Okay.
We've got three major areas of focus that we talked about last meeting. One is unsafe and unfit structures. We have identified an unsafe structure, and we're now proceeding on how to deal with that
Okay.
using our unsafe and unfit structure ordinance.
How are you finding that?
Well,
The
we're
ordinance.
just,
I'm curious.
first we had to get it inspected and deemed
Okay.
unsafe, and now we're gonna go ahead and see if we can deal with it
Okay.
in a community-friendly way.
Yes. Yeah.
The second thing that we talked about last time is building community by working with the Parks and Rec to have a volunteer fair along with at least one of the Friday night meetings so people can be more aware of some of the volunteer organizations and potentially, hopefully, volunteer for some of them. And our third is, Tam helped us with a circulation plan, and Dante's working on setting up a meeting with somebody from the county and the state DOT to see if we can start promoting the circulation plan in Ringo's. We're also, Will Harrison came to our last meeting and wants to do just keep in touch with each other to work on historical preservation as well as the Ringo's
Will
Village
Harrison,
Subcommittee.
for the newbie here, Will Harrison is
Historic.
Historic
okay,
preservation.
chair.
The chair.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I was assuming that. I just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so that coordination is starting to happen too.
It's a lot of action.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Jamal?
Yeah,
Environmental
so
Commission and FOSS.
We have a draft farmland preservation plan.
Yeah.
And that is going to get public notice. It goes to the Ag Committee. They go to look at it, and then it'll go out. It's 98 pages. There's a lot of really good information. It also synopsizes some of the state policies about clustering growth and doing affordable housing. There's a lot of good information in it. So I guess that's going to come to us within weeks.
And what is our role on that?
I think
We
the
have to approve
comment
it.
as well, yeah.
Okay, just comment.
Yeah.
Can I also add, yeah, it's actually it's also being looked at by the state right now. So the state also has to provide comments. They can decide however long they want to take on that.
Okay.
So before it does go to the AAC, or the Ag Advisory Committee,
Okay.
we'll have to just, if there's any revisions that the state needs, but I don't expect there to be many.
Yeah.
And this is from, what is it titled?
East Amwell Township Farmland Preservation Plan.
Okay. Okay. Just wanted to know. Yeah.
Which-
And that's different than that's the same as the one that Mike Mills was working on?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure I
Yeah.
got that straight. Okay, so that's been a long time coming.
Yep.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
If there's I'm just hearing things here and there. There is farmland around my house that was owned by the Thompson Company.
Yeah.
Now, from what I understand, and I've heard this very recently, a lot of this farmland is probably has been subdivided a while ago. And it's been nothing for housing, 10-acre housing and stuff. Now, I don't know what's gone on with that, but is this, so far it's been farmland, is this a possibility to get preserved as farmland? If the Thompson family sells it?
Well, I know they just preserved the golf course. The golf course is all public. 400 acres next to
Nice.
that 1,300 acres. That wraps around the Benson's place.
Yeah.
That's Bryce Thompson's property. I don't know.
The owner, I think, has to request farmland preservation.
Yeah.
It's not something that we
Oh,
go
so-
in and do.
yeah, okay.
So right now that's an estate, so you'd be talking to his attorney.
Right, that's okay.
But I guess there is precedent, right? Because the attorney preserved that one big parcel.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of, nobody knew there was going to be a tennis court thing there. That could have turned into who knows what. So that's good news.
Agreed.
Ever visual.
Is this available from?
Ever visual.
I don't, I mean, I think it's supposed to go through ag committee before it comes to us.
Oh, okay,
But you
gotcha.
can, but you
It's
can
a
take a
draft.
look at it,
Yeah,
look
yeah,
at
yeah.
the maps and stuff, it's
Yeah.
great.
You can look, but you can't comment until it goes to ag committee.
I found one thing, 'cause
Just
it has a
kidding.
priority for
Joking.
preservation is my lot, which has already been preserved. So I
Good work.
found one catch.
Oh, so
there.
you fixed
Yeah,
one
I
thing.
fixed one thing.
Well
already.
done, Mr. Condrey.
You were a priority, but you took care of it.
Yeah.
Anything
done.
more from you on, anything from environmental commission?
There is, we're getting some help from, it's like an AmeriCorps watershed steward on the, figuring out what to do about the mugwort in Clausen Park.
Oh,
I've been mowing it like a lawn, which can suppress mugwort, but when it's really verdant, I worry that people will come and see me with a brush hog and think, what are you doing? You know, because it says like rain garden, no mowing.
yeah.
So I thought we need like a 8.5 by 11, like flyers to explain what we're doing for the next steps.
And good education, too.
So we're getting some help on that.
Okay.
Can you tell us what is the mugwort? It's a
Mugwort is a very common invasive weed, and it reproduces by rhizome. So like if you
Like an
rototill an area
Yeah.
that has mugwort, you're going to have more mugwort. It has some supposed medicinal properties. People use it for smudging instead of white sage. I don't know, Roman soldiers put it in their sandals to prevent fatigue. I'm trying to like sell it because I have so much of it.
So if we all decided to
I've
smudge our
discovered,
house,
I've
we could
discovered
come
that
up-
on our property that if you take like old roofing EPDM plastic and put it down over it for a year, you can kill it. But I just don't think that's going to go at Clausen Park. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think the medicinal thing has a better vibe.
Right,
I like
right,
that.
you're right. It's like more environmentally friendly.
Yeah.
White sage, come collect it, but take the rhizome with you.
Right, right.
Future event.
There's something you could put in there that is, local planting that will overcome the mugwort?
You can. I've talked to people. I've talked to Kit. He says that there's certain things that you can plant that are more aggressive than mugwort, like sorghum. But he's talking about no-till drilling in acres. So we're figuring it out. We got a lot of smart people
It's a
working
big
on figuring it
problem.
out.
There's a lot of people trying to figure out
Yeah,
that problem.
I'm experimenting to see if pigs will get rid of it.
Oh,
And we can have pigs in Clausen Park.
Yeah. Oh,
I
hey,
think you'll need a variance
Yeah.
for that.
for a couple
Finally,
months
the
might be
committee we
good.
have to come to.
Al, I have another question. The letter that we got talks about spraying for invasive weeds in Amwell Lake.
Oh, yeah.
Does the environmental committee look at, I don't know what they use. I'm sure they use something that's good, but I think,
You are?
no. Which is why I was kind of
Yeah,
wondering
they're-
if the environmental committee was aware of it and
Yeah.
what they use.
I just saw this. This just got added to her, correct?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
I think the environmental committee should look at it because they are proposing spraying some
The invasive
herbicides.
plants.
Huh.
Yeah, it's
It's what you want in water.
yeah. Doesn't make a lot of sense actually now.
Huh.
that you mention it.
I'll-
Yeah, I think that letter, Kristen, that came in late, right?
No, that one was added to
That
the
one-
drive.
Okay.
The newest one is the public hearing for the county planning board.
Okay. Any other comments for oral reports?
Emily, I could say from the township committee, just two things. One we saw already was lighting, right,
Yep.
which is coming
Thank
here.
you.
And the other is, as everyone is aware, we have brought our zoning department back to East Amwell, so we have our own zoning officer. She's handling a lot of applications, but there may be some interaction with this body because of our, zoning board of adjustment kind of functions. But she's getting going, has had a good response so far from neighbors who've come in to ask questions or to deal with issues. And so we intend that to be something positive for the residents now that we have that back. So
Anything else? Anything from you, Megan?
No, nothing further.
Okay. Guess open to the public. May I have a motion?
so moved.
Second.
Open to the public? Anything else? Gonna make this really short.
Wow.
We won't object.
I don't want to object to that, okay. Close to the public. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Can I ask a question?
You may.
Quick,
Oh,
go
so much for
quickly.
that.
Yeah, before there's a second, go.
Well, I noticed in the packets, there's permission for us to look at the areas.
Yes.
What's the process for that? Do we contact the people? Do we drive by? Do we go up on the property?
I just drove by.
I just drove out, I drove onto the property.
But-
Is there
And the
anybody
reason
living
I
there?
did is because you
Yes.
did it to me when I was in front of this board, so I felt no yeah.
I didn't drive down the driveway.
I drove all the way
35
down the
Ring-
driveway in the back. Nobody stopped me.
On the Ringos Road one, where the
None on the Ringos Road run. I just
Okay.
started with Old York Road,
yeah, I did too.
On the 1271 property?
1217, yeah.
1217, I mean, I would say, I mean, I drove by on the road, but I think any time that a member wants to get access, I'm sure we could contact the attorney for the applicant, you know, to get permission to enter is probably a good practice.
You have to drive into the driveway because it's a busy road.
Yeah,
there,
no,
like-
and as part of an application, we are given.
I noticed we were given, but I just wasn't
Yep.
sure what the
just-
correct process
Right.
was.
Yeah.
For
I mean,
that.
Alexis can
Yeah.
tell us.
Yeah, I can send you a little memo on the appropriate way to
Okay.
talk about it.
See,
Yeah.
I probably
No, it's
didn't go
okay.
about it correctly.
No, it's okay, but we can, just for the formal process of it, we can get that to you.
You're gonna
Thank you, I thought
Yeah,
that
I
was.
Thank
should,
you.
I should read that too.
Yeah, I did probably read it too.
And Google Map, I know technology isn't always great, but Google Maps is a great,
Yeah.
resource too.
Well,
just to,
sometimes
like,
it's
see the
just
way it
nice to
looks.
get the feel of
Yeah,
the
you can't.
altitude
Agreed.
and
And the
what
buildings
gravels
and-
and how it sits
absolutely.
next to
You-
things.
Yeah, I mean, I
no
personally,
substitute.
when
Because
I
people
was
talk about
literally had this plan, and then I drove over and looked at it, and then I came back and looked at the plan.
Yeah.
And you
trying to-
understood it a little bit better, right?
Yeah, I
Way
understood it
better.
a little better, which is why I was like making sure that my understanding about the silos was correct. And not that I need to draw their lot lines, I just want to make sure we've done our homework. Okay, so we tried this again. Motion to adjourn. Oh, actually, I think I already had it first. I just need a second.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is closed at 8:02.
Thank you, everyone. Good
that
meeting.
correct?
Yep,
Is it?
that's right,
What
802.
What is the unfit
good.
and unsafe structure?
You're so efficient.
There's
It's good.
there's an ordinance that we have, an unsafe and unfit building ordinance.
You just put construction fence